So hello from Wicklow town. It's a lovely sunny and rainy 14 degrees today. This is Mindfulness Dad, my video blog number 5. And only had a couple of hours sleep last night. It's very strange to be in the car and have no kids in the back. So they're all teething at the moment and not sleeping. I was at the dentist myself recently getting a lovely root canal done. So at the moment, I think in mindfulness they say, can we just make friends with all of that? One breath at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. So today I'd like to talk about the skill and the practice of validation. Not often used or even talked about. It certainly, though, comes from the therapeutic studies. I know myself, validation is something that really helps to connect people together. It's a skill and a practice that brings connection rather than separation. With our own kids, when Matthew is crying, and sometimes, we might say to him, "Hey, Matthew, are you tired now? What's going on?" And Matthew will turn around and go, "I'm not tired. I'm crying." And it's a good reminder to be able to validate our kids, to say, "Yes, Matthew, I see you're crying. And maybe it is because you're tired, but I'm going to validate what you're experiencing in this moment." And that's really the practice, to acknowledge what the other person is thinking or feeling or what they're experiencing, and not necessarily make them wrong. It's so easy, particularly in relationships, or even with our kids, when we want them to do something else, to make them wrong, to invalidate them. And it just creates a disconnect in many ways. So in our relationships as well, it's easy to happen. I know with a friend there recently, we were passing a shop in Wicklow town, and I said, "Oh, look, there's a new shop." And he said, no, that's been there for months." And immediately I felt, okay, who's right and who's wrong? And I didn't want to get into that whole, well, has it really been there for months? Let's argue about how long it's been there. So oftentimes that's what happens in different relationships. We try and score points off each other, because in many ways it helps the egoic self to feel normal, to feel a sense of its separate identity. So if your separate self, if your flower didn't get enough affirmation when you were growing up, then that's how we do it in relationships. We take an opposite position to the other person in everything they say or do, and then that makes us feel somehow individual, because we're so afraid that we lose ourselves, or we don't know who we are if we don't take a stand. And we see it all over the world, played out in politics, and particularly in our dualistic world today. And validation is an incredibly powerful tool of creating connection. And it doesn't matter, you see, if I'm right or wrong. It's not about that. It doesn't matter whether objective or consensus reality says something else. This is what I'm experiencing and feeling in this moment. And that's all. And can you validate that with me? And then, of course, we can take it into a more strategic level and skill, because if we go into the business world, I work a lot in organizations, and it's a great leadership and a management skill to be able to validate other people in what their opinions are and what they're going through, or whatever it might be. And in doing that, they're more likely to take on board and validate what you want them then to to do or what your opinions are. So it becomes, and this is it, it becomes a win-win situation. So I always ask myself in a conflict, something that could become conflict, or in a business situation, what's the win-win position here? How can we validate each other? Nobody's wrong, and yet find that common ground that allows us to feel like we're connecting and moving forward together. So a really good practice, something you can do with your kids, with your partner, with everybody in work, just to feed back. It's active listening. Yes, this is what I hear you're experiencing or thinking or feeling, and I acknowledge that with you before I say anything else. Before I say anything else about maybe what I think or feel about the situation. So we're creating that relationship, that connection first, and that's so important. So I'd like to give a big shout out to Sylvia. This video is for you, Sylvia, from Mexico. Thanks for being such a great childminder for us. And this video is for you. So, and yeah, please, if you have any feedback for me or anything you'd like to me to discuss or talk about, please keep sending me the comments. And thanks for all the positive feedback and support. Okay, bye.